the general who outlived a planet. The Galactic Court was built to intimidate, an amphitheater of silver arches, floating lights, and 1,000 judging eyes. Yet as General Aria Vance stepped into its center, boots echoing against polished alloy, the silence that fell over the chamber did not belong to the Empire. It belonged to her. Mist curled around her ankles, drifting from the breech vents of the emergency pod she had landed in just moments earlier. Her uniform, scarlet with golden trim, was torn at the shoulder, scorched across the chest, and still stained with soot from Earth's burning skies. She hadn't allowed the Empire's attendants to clean it. Let them see what they had done. Above her, a ring of holographic seals shimmered, the official emblems of the Constellation Council. Rows of alien delegates looked down at her. Tall, blue-skinned emissaries, stone-faced elders with white beards, green small-bodied sages with long ears. All of them watched as the lone human stood before their emperor. High Chancellor Vorax lounged upon his levitating throne, armored, elegant, and utterly convinced of his own superiority. His voice echoed through the chamber, amplified until it scraped like metal across stone. "You survived," he said. Against statistical expectation, Aria didn't respond. She stood straight, hands clasped behind her back, the posture of a soldier who had nothing left to lose. The Chancellor smiled. Earth resisted for 8 hours. Admirable for primitives. A few delegates chuckled. Others exchanged looks of pity. One green alien shook his head sadly, as though mourning the last days of a quaint species. Vorax flicked his clawed hand, and a glowing tablet floated toward Aria. The Treaty of Subjugation. Kneel, human. Sign your species into the mercy of the Empire. Aria took the tablet in silence. Her dark eyes scanned the script, not because she cared about its terms, but because she wanted to appreciate the absurdity of it. A document declaring humanity conquered, broken, obedient. Her thumb hovered over the acceptance seal, and then the memories came, the skies splitting open as the Empire's warships arrived without warning. The Pacific Defense Bastion, her command center, shaking under the first orbital strike. Her soldiers burning alive in white plasma. Her people crushed beneath collapsing megacities. Her sister, gentle, brilliant, hopeful, reduced to a smear of light when the bombardment erased the entire southern hemisphere. Earth had fallen, but she had not. Aria exhaled slowly and lowered her hand, letting the tablet hang in the air between them. "Before I sign anything," she said, her voice calm, "let me confirm something." Vorax leaned forward, amused. "Speak. You truly believe Earth is defeated?" "Earth is dust," he replied. "Your species is a footnote in galactic history." Aria nodded. "Then it seems," she said quietly, "that we understand nothing about each other." And before anyone could react, she slammed the glowing tablet onto the metal floor. The shattering sound cracked through the chamber like a gunshot. Holographic fragments scattered like sparks. Several delegates recoiled. Security drones swiveled their cannons toward her, lights flashing red. Aria didn't move. Her voice rose. Not a scream, not a plea, but a clear, resonant command that rang like the toll of ancient war bells. "You invaded Earth. Now we will conquer you." The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted in outrage. Some screamed for guards. Others demanded her execution on the spot. Vorax's expression twisted from smug amusement into cold fury. "You dare," he began. Aria cut him off simply by lifting her chin. "I'm not here to kneel," she said. "And I'm not here to surrender." She tapped the wrist console hidden beneath her torn sleeve. A hologram burst into existence above her, towering, luminous, impossible to ignore. Gasps filled the chamber. It was a fleet, a human fleet. Dozens of carriers, hundreds of warships, thousands of strike craft, a vast armada with Terran insignia blazing bright on every hull. "This is impossible," whispered a delegate. "No shipyard survived your war," muttered another. Vorax's voice dropped into a low growl. "What deception is this?" "No deception," Aria replied. "While you were bombarding our cities, The deep core arc yards activated. While you destroyed our communication grids, we turned them into weapons networks. While you hunted survivors, we built alliances you never bothered to consider. She gestured to the projection. Humanity is not dead. Humanity is mobilized. The fleet image shifted, now showing ships emerging from hyperspace near the Empire's outer colonies. Not attacking, not yet, but positioning, surrounding, preparing. You taught us fear, Aria said. You taught us pain. You taught us silence. And in our silence, we learned everything about you. Her eyes locked onto Vorex's. You invaded Earth, she repeated softly. And in doing so, you forged something you cannot begin to understand. A tremor ran through the chamber floor as alarms blared. External sensors confirmed it. The human fleet had begun seizing Empire relay stations. Vorex rose from his throne, cloak billowing like a storm. You will pay for this, General. Aria smiled, a small, cold, human thing. I already have, she said. Now it's your turn. The court plunged into pandemonium as guards rushed forward, but Aria stood rooted in place, unafraid, unshaken. This was no surrender. This was the beginning, the first strike of a new humanity. The Terran High fleet broke through hyperspace like knives of light, carving open the dark. One after another, colossal human warships snapped into existence above the Kareth Gate, a strategic warp nexus in the outer Empire territories. Captain Relon stood at the command bridge of the TSV Vanguard, boots spread, hands behind his back, eyes locked on the star map. The screens bathed him in shifting blue light, but the determination on his face burned brighter. All vessels in formation, a navigator reported. Admiral Solis's signal confirmed. We move on her command. Relon nodded, though tension coiled in his gut. Aria Solis had survived Earth's fall when the rest of their old command had died. She carried the weight of an entire species on her shoulders, and he trusted her more than any leader he'd ever known. But what they were about to do had no precedent. The Empire was ancient. Humanity was wounded. Yet here they were, preparing to strike first. Patch me through to the fleet, Relon said. The comms officer tapped her console. Channel open. Relon inhaled. Terran High Fleet, this is Captain Relon. You know why we're here. The Empire burned our world and thought us gone. Today, we teach them the cost of that mistake. Check weapons, stabilize warp cores, and brace for enemy contact. He paused. We fight for the dead, but we also fight for the living. Keep your minds sharp and your hearts steady. The Empire expects broken humans. Let's show them what we've become. The bridge crew straightened with renewed resolve. The moment felt like history sharpening to a point. The Empire responds. On the star map, the Empire's local garrison flickered awake. Dozens of cruisers undocked from Kareth Station, accompanied by swarms of drone fighters. Exactly as predicted, Relon muttered. Aria had studied the Empire's patterns even before Earth fell. She knew their arrogance, their predictable overconfidence. The garrison commanders would assume this human force was small, desperate, fractured. They didn't know what humans could build when backed into a corner. Enemy hail incoming, the comms officer said. Put on. A blue-skinned Empire marshal appeared as a shimmering hologram. Human vessels, you are trespassing in Imperial space. Power down your weapons and surrender. Survivors will be processed. Relon smiled coldly. No. The marshal blinked. No. You heard me. He closed the channel. Begin evasive pattern Solis 3, Relon ordered. At once, the human fleet scattered, not retreating, but shifting into erratic, curved trajectories. Empire ships tried locking onto them, only to lose targeting solutions as Terran navigators executed maneuvers considered reckless by most species. Humans had always been willing to push machines, and themselves, to the edge. Return fire, Relon said. The Battle of Kareth Gate. The first exchange lit the void with fire. Human rail cannons tore through the Empire's forward line, shredding cruiser armor like foil. Empire plasma beams carved bright scars across Terran hulls. But human engineers had reinforced their ships with adaptive plating scavenged from fallen alien tech. The vanguard shuddered as a plasma bolt grazed its flank. Shields holding, the defensive officer reported. Push forward, Relon said. Empire ships began to falter. They couldn't predict human flight patterns. Terran vessels drifted close to star radiation where most species avoided, skimmed gravity wells, and made micro-jumps that nearly fried their own warp drives. Captain, the navigator warned, we're approaching safety limits. Relon's voice was firm. Exceed them. The vanguard, dove beneath an Empire cruiser, fired all batteries point-blank, and emerged from a cloud of shrapnel. Across the battlefield, the same story played out. Human unpredictability against Empire rigidity. Within minutes, the Empire's garrison collapsed into disarray. They're routing, the comms officer said. Commander requests orders for pursuit. No pursuit, Relon said. We're not here to slaughter. Secure the station. Liberation at Kareth Station. Kareth Station was enormous, part fortress, part industrial hub. Human Marines deployed in coordinated units, pushing through corridors where alien workers watched them with fear or disbelief. Relon himself entered the command sector with his strike team. The Empire officers surrendered quickly, but more surprising were the prisoners, hundreds of alien civilians held under forced labor. Their eyes widened at the sight of human soldiers. Ew, you're not here to conquer us, a trembling four-armed artisan asked. No, Relon said. We're here to break the Empire apart. The artisan's shoulders slumped in relief. Others murmured in disbelief, tears forming, as if they had never expected compassion from any military force, let alone humans. Word spread across the station. Humans were liberators, not tyrants. The sentiment reached Aria Solis within minutes, and she smiled. Aria's moment of resolve. Back aboard her flagship, Aria stood alone at the viewing deck. Stars seemed to revolve around her like silent witnesses. Kareth Gate had fallen. Humanity's first victory in the counterstrike. But victory did not soothe her. It only sharpened her purpose. She whispered her sister Myra's name into the quiet. A promise. A vow. We're not done, she murmured. Not until every innocent is free and every tyrant is broken. A data pad buzzed at her wrist. Relon's message appeared. Kareth secured. Minimal casualties. Liberated workers support human advance. Awaiting next objective. Aria closed the message and turned toward the war room. There, a hologram awaited. Red, pulsing, dangerous. The solar spear. An Empire superweapon. A countdown ticking down from 30 days. Aria stared at it, her jaw tightening. They think we will slow down, she whispered. They think we will hesitate. She stepped forward, eyes blazing. They invaded Earth. Her fist clenched. Now we take everything from them. The Empire breaks. The war table aboard Aria Solis's flagship shimmered with red and blue holograms. Imperial strongholds, captured colonies, liberated worlds. In just 6 days, humanity had torn a rift through the Empire's outer rim. But the center, the Imperial core, remained a fortress of billions. Aria's command officer stood around her in silence as she traced a glowing path on the hologram. This is our next move, she said. The siege of Vorex Prime. Gasps rippled through the room. Vorex Prime wasn't just the Empire's capital. It was a labyrinth of fortifications, star fortresses, and planetary shields. No species had ever breached it. Captain Relon stepped forward. General, are we ready for that? Aria looked up. Her eyes weren't tired. They were focused, sharper than blade steel. We don't have a choice, she said. The solar spear fires in 23 days. By then, millions more humans, survivors we've hidden across the colonies, will be wiped out. We end Vorex. We end the Empire's chain of command. We end this weapon before it ends us. No one argued. The alliance that shouldn't exist. Hours later, delegates from the newly liberated species arrived aboard the flagship. They entered Aria's war room with caution, each one bearing scars from years under Imperial oppression. A tall, feathered Zerthan elder stepped forward. Human general, you freed our children from the Kareth slave yards. We owe you our lives. Aria bowed her head. You owe us nothing. We weren't saving your people. We were saving people. Empire chains are not yours to carry. Another delegate, a crystalline being whose body refracted light like stained glass, spoke. We were told humans were violent, reckless, dangerous. Aria's answer was quiet but firm. We are, but not to those who deserve peace. The room fell silent. And then, one by one, the alien leaders pledged fleets, soldiers, intel, and technology. Relon leaned toward Aria, whispering, "This isn't a coalition. This is a revolution." "No," she said. "This is justice." Vorex's paranoia. Across the galaxy, inside the obsidian walls of the Imperial Citadel, High Chancellor Vorex paced like a caged predator. His advisors stood at trembling attention as he slammed a clawed hand onto the war table. "You told me humans would burn out," he snarled. "You told me their spirit would collapse." The room shook with the impact. A trembling minister stepped forward. "My Chancellor, their military evolution is unprecedented. Vorex activated a plasma lash. The minister fell before finishing his sentence. Silence filled the room. "These humans," Vorex spat, "think themselves conquerors. They think they can challenge the eternal empire." An aide whispered, What if they can?" Vorex's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the Citadel Guard. Double the planetary shields. And accelerate the solar spear. The siege begins." The Terran High Fleet arrived at Vorex Prime under the cover of a manufactured cosmic storm, generated by a Zerthan weather array and amplified by human ion drives. Lightning streaked through nebula clouds as the fleet emerged. "Enemy sensors blinded," Relon reported. "We're invisible for 60 seconds. 60 is enough," Aria said. Human stealth destroyers streaked toward the planetary shield emitters, dropping EMP charges that detonated silently in space. Blue barriers flickered, shield integrity down to 71%, a technician said. "Again," Aria ordered. The second wave hit. The planetary shield cracked like glass under pressure. "Ground teams, go." Thousands of human shock troops dropped from orbit in descent pods, slamming into the capital district of Vorex Prime with surgical precision. Aria herself led the command team, landing on a scorched plaza beside the lower barricades of the Imperial Citadel. Alien citizens watched in awe, terrified not of humans, but of what the Empire would do to stop them. Aria pointed ahead. "Breach the western gate." Explosives ripped through the armored walls. Human exosuit infantry surged forward, tearing through elite Imperial soldiers in combat that blurred into red and silver sparks. Inside the Citadel, the Imperial Citadel was a maze of obsidian corridors, each guarded by soldiers augmented with alien biotech. These were Vorex's chosen, trained from birth to kill without hesitation. But humans had something the Empire couldn't engineer: raw defiance. The corridor battles were brutal. Marines fought hand-to-hand when ammunition ran dry. Relon was nearly cut down by a plasma spear before a Zerthan ally intercepted the blow with a cry of vengeance. Every hallway, one brought them closer to the throne room, to Vorex, and to the solar spear's command codes. Aria's crossroads. In a momentary lull, Relon approached Aria. "General, our forward squads want to know your final orders for the capital. Do we eliminate resistance or take prisoners?" Aria paused. She looked at the bodies, human, alien, Vorex loyalist, littering the Citadel floors. Her soldiers waited, expecting the command that vengeance demanded. But vengeance didn't rule her. "Take prisoners," she said. "Every one that surrenders. We are not the Empire." Some soldiers exchanged uneasy looks. Others nodded, relieved. Relon exhaled. "Understood." Aria stepped forward. "We conquer tyrants, not innocents." The throne room duel. They reached the throne room at dusk, its vast windows overlooking a burning skyline, its pillars carved with centuries of imperial conquest. Vorex stood waiting, cloaked in ceremonial armor, eyes gleaming. He hissed. "The insect who thinks herself a god." Aria stepped forward. "No, just human." Vorex roared as he leapt into combat, claws crackling with energy. Their clash shook the hall. Steel meeting plasma, discipline facing savagery. He was stronger, but she was more determined. With a final strike, Aria drove her blade into Vorex's chest. The Chancellor staggered back, disbelief frozen on his face. He fell from the citadel balcony, plunging toward the fires below. Relon rushed beside her. "It's over." Aria's breath steadied. "No." She felt it like a cold pulse in the back of her skull. Something had gone wrong. Chapter Cliffhanger. An alert blared across every human and allied ship. The solar spear has activated. Aria turned toward the sky, eyes burning with fury and fear. "Vorex didn't need to live," she whispered. "He already launched it." The general who refused to kneel. The throne room of the XYR Dominion had once been a place of unbroken ritual. Columns carved from crystallized volcanic glass, banners of iridescent cloth shimmering with every pulse of atmospheric current, and guards who stood as still as statues. But now, it was a battlefield in slow motion, because a human general had walked into it. General Aria Vance stood amid the wreckage with her armor scorched, her dress ripped at the side, and a line of drying alien blood streaked across her cheek. Every noble, every soldier, every ambassador who moments earlier had laughed at her appearance now watched with breathless horror. Their mockery had vanished the moment they saw the slumped corpse of their king at her feet. The silence felt endless. Then movement. The Dominion's High Marshal, a massive six-limbed warrior encased in obsidian armor, stepped forward, voice trembling with restrained fury. "Human," he growled, "you stand in the holiest chamber of our empire, having slain our sovereign. Explain yourself before I tear your limbs apart." Aria didn't flinch. She didn't raise her weapon. She simply looked at him, dangerously calm. "Your king planned to exterminate my species," she said. "He believed humans were weak. He believed we would kneel." She nudged the corpse with her boot and met the marshal's burning gaze. "He died believing that, too." A ripple of rage shuddered through the assembled aliens. The marshal lunged. He moved like a meteor, 6 limbs slashing in synchronized, deadly arcs. The nobles gasped. The guards retreated. But Aria did not. She stepped into his attack. Her movements were sharp, efficient, military precision honed through wars the Dominion never bothered to study. She ducked beneath the first strike, crushed the second limb at the joint, pivoted, and drove her knee into the soft gap where his armor met his thorax. The marshal staggered, roaring, but she was already behind him. Her blade flashed. A single strike severed one of his primary arms. Another stab punctured his armor seam. The last blow drove her elbow into his skull. He collapsed heavily. The room recoiled. The marshal beaten. The king dead. Alone human, unbroken. Aria wiped her blade on her tattered dress and raised her voice. "Let me make this simple. The Dominion attacked first. You drew blood. You enslaved colonies. You mocked us. You tore down everything we tried to build peacefully." Her eyes swept the room with the cool precision of a battlefield commander. "Humanity is not prey. You hunted the wrong species." Whispers erupted, some trembling with fear, some trembling with hatred, and yet some with awe. Aria continued, "I will give you a choice. Broadcast it to every ship, every world, every colony under the Dominion banner." She pointed to a still-functioning hollow emitter. A terrified attendant activated it with shaking fingers. Millions of Dominion citizens saw her instantly. A human standing in their throne room. A human who had killed their king. A human who refused to bow. "This is General Aria Vance of the Terran Defense Front," she declared. "I'm offering the Dominion one chance to survive this war. Surrender unconditionally, relinquish control of the human colonies you stole, and withdraw from the frontier. Do this, and humanity will spare your worlds." The hall erupted, not in action, but in panic. The nobles shrieked. The ambassadors collapsed into frantic argument. The guards looked around for orders that no longer existed. The marshal on the floor let out a choking sound of outrage. "You dare offer terms?" Aria crouched beside him. "If you refuse," she said softly, but loud enough for every mic to catch, "humanity will answer your king's last decree." She leaned in. "And we won't stop. Her words rippled across every Dominion channel. Her defiance became a pulse echoing through millions of minds. Then her ships arrived. The palace windows shook as the sky outside flooded with human dreadnoughts, sleek metal beasts armed with rail cannons and plasma lances. The Dominion fleet scrambled, but the Terran ships were already locked into precision formation, their weapons glowing like a new constellation of wrath. The palace trembled under the hum of engines that had crossed interstellar space in record time. Humanity had come. A Dominion noble shouted, "It's impossible. They cannot be here. This sector is weeks away." Aria smiled. "You never took us seriously. That was your first mistake." The humans' new warp-fold technology, classified, untested publicly, had brought them here in a single jump. And now the Dominion finally understood the truth. Humanity wasn't merely angry. Humanity was prepared. A hollow feed crackled as the Terran fleet admiral appeared. "General Vance, we are locked on targets. Awaiting your signal." The entire throne room stared at her, realizing with dawning horror that this human woman, bruised and bloody, dress torn, surrounded by enemies, held the power to decide the fate of an empire. Aria looked at the feed, then at the terrified Dominion nobles, then at the corpse of the king who thought humans were lesser. Her voice was steady as steel. "Stand down," she said, "or burn." The Dominion, broken and leaderless, knew there was only one answer. And for the first time in its ancient history, it bowed to a human, to General Aria Vance. The throne room, once a symbol of Dominion supremacy, became the place where an empire learned fear, where a general in a torn dress changed the course of the galaxy, and where humanity's legend began.